Hello friends of Paperbound Knowledge Transfer, and welcome to another video on my channel and another book review. The title of today's book is Sunburst, The Rise of Japanese Naval Air Power 1909 to 1941, written by Mark R. Petty. This book is the second part, or maybe a companion book, to the book about the Imperial Japanese Navy, Kaigun. What is now Sunburst was originally supposed by the two authors to be 4 chapters in Kaigun. But as you can see, Kaigun was already quite long, and they thought adding that much more to it would be too much and impractical. And they also realized that the Imperial Japanese Naval Aviation deserved its own book anyway. Unfortunately, one of the two authors of Kaigun, David Evans, died before Sunburst could be completed, and so Mark R. Petty did this one himself. Kaigun is in many ways quite near and dear to my heart, because it's one of my favorite history books, and because I did my very first book review on my channel here on Kaigun, which was horrible by today's standards, by my standards of today. So at some point I will need to redo that video. If you like to see how far I've come from back then to today, then yeah, I'll put a link to the video in the video description below. As always, I've structured my review today in several different chapters, and you can find bookmarks to them in the video description. So now let's have a closer look at the book in question. Let's now have a closer look at the contents of the book. Sunburst comprises 4 chapters which were originally written for Kaigun on the Imperial Japanese Naval Air Service. But added to that are a few more chapters which deal with the very early history of Imperial Japanese aviation and its origins, and one summary chapter on its fate in the Second World War and the Pacific War. But it is important to note that Sunburst, just like Kaigun, is not a battle history of the Imperial Japanese Naval Aviation Service, but rather a look at the development of strategy, tactics and technology leading up to the Second World War, leading up to 1941. Although there is a summary chapter which does deal a bit with the fate, in summary, and maybe in the performance, you could say, of that service in the Second World War. Structure-wise, Sunburst is made up of 7 chapters and quite a large number of appendices. Some of those chapters, for example, deal with the very early history of the Imperial Japanese Naval Aviation from 1909 to 1921, or with operations in China from 1937 to 1941, so directly before the Pacific War, where interestingly the Imperial Japanese Naval Aviation essentially fought a land war. All those chapters are quite text heavy. But there are many photographs, graphics and maps which illustrate important points and important technological concepts, and also scale of the operational environment on those maps, for example. After the real chapters and the real meat of the book, there's also quite a large number of appendices of around 100 pages. In those there are, for example, short biographical information on key Japanese naval aviators, or data sheets on ships and airplanes, as well as an overview on the very complicated topic of Japanese aircraft nomenclature. Now for the, in my mind, special negative and positive points connected with this book. For negative points I can make it short because I don't have any at this time, and yeah, so let's just move on to the very positive points. And what I really like about this book is that it doesn't just start in 1941 and then we get a battle history of the carrier aviation and other aviation of the Imperial Japanese Navy, but we learn about the background of that force that then fought that war, and we learn how it came to be. And I really like this deep background, and that's, in my mind, the main positive aspect of this book. Second positive aspect in my mind is that together with Kaigun, it's a package deal that delivers the entire history and background history of the Imperial Japanese Navy in one good package to read and digest. And I really like that they are available and they give such a complete picture, maybe only lacking a third book that then deals with the battle history of the Imperial Japanese Navy. Now for my final verdict on this book. I think it is important to mention that yes, Kaigun and Sunburst complement each other and together give an entire view of the Imperial Japanese Navy, an entire history of that organization, but Sunburst can be read independently and can quite well stand on its own as well. It is not a battle history of the Imperial Japanese Naval Aviation Service, but it gives you all the information you want on the origins of that service and then fought so successfully at the beginning in the Second World War. If you are interested in that kind of deep background, especially on the Japanese side, on the Second World War in the Pacific, then I really rather suggest that you go and get this book Sunburst and Kaigun as well and have a read. Now for some reading suggestions from me for you on the same kind of topic, Pacific War and so on. Of course, I recommend to read Kaigun, as I've just said quite a few times in the video, by David Evans and Mark R. Petty. If you want to learn more about the American side of things and how they planned for the war, I can recommend to you the book War Plan Orange by Edward Miller, on which I've also done a video, not just on Kaigun, which I will link in the description below. Another book dealing more with the naval aviation side, or how the downfall of that Japanese naval aviation and army aviation came to be, is Fire in the Sky by Eric M. Bergerud, which deals with the aerial campaign in the South Pacific. I've also done a video on that book as well, and I will also link it in the description below. So that's for my video. Thank you for watching. All of this is of course just my opinion, and I would be very interested to learn what you think about this book, what you think about my video, maybe what other reading suggestions you have on this topic. So again, thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day and have fun reading. Goodbye.